There we go. With that, good morning and welcome. I'm Mark Pinto here at Phoenixville Public Library, and we're pleased to present this presentation from the American Red Cross, which might have come in handy a couple of weeks ago before Hurricane Ida, but disasters happen all the time, as you know, all too frequently. So this morning we will be learning from Heather Bowman and Lynn Cohen of the Delaware Valley chapter of the American Red Cross, all about disaster preparedness and about the work of the Red Cross and how you can get involved as a volunteer. So with that, I will turn things over. Oh, and before that, just to mention, if you have any questions during the presentation, please put them in the chat. All right, take it away.
Thank you. Welcome, and thanks so much, Mark, for inviting us to share some fabulous information, how to be Red Cross ready, and learning about volunteering with the American Red Cross. So as Mark shared, we are, okay, for some reason, there we go. So we do just ask everybody to mute your phone or computer. Our agenda today is really just sharing our Red Cross mission and services that we provide, how to be Red Cross ready, disaster priority positions that we have within the agency right now. As Mark mentioned, these storms are becoming more and more frequent, and we really are always looking for volunteers to support our mission. And we'll talk about next steps. We'll have time for question and answers at the end. And as Mark shared, we're asking you to just utilize the chat box for questions and we'll get to those. So my name is Lynn Cohen and Heather Bowman will be your co-presenters today. I am the Senior Volunteer Recruitment Specialist for the Delaware Valley chapter, and we serve Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery counties. And then Heather is our Disaster Preparedness Program Manager, and she serves the entire region. So I don't want to confuse anybody, but I just kind of want you to be aware of how our chapters or how it's organized here in the southeastern Pennsylvania region. We have two chapters, the Delaware Valley chapter and the Philadelphia chapter. And so Philadelphia chapter is Philadelphia and Bucks County. And both of these chapters are our footprint and our region of service. So who we are. The American Red Cross has a long history, about 140 years, of providing service to those facing emergencies. And I'd just like to spend a few minutes sharing with you about our mission, the services, and the impact our organization has on the community. So our mission is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. We couldn't do anything we do without our fabulous volunteers. About 90% of our workforce are volunteers. Now, our fundamental principles are humanity, impartiality, neutrality, independence, voluntary service, unity, and universality. And I like to share that because anytime you see a Red Crescent Society and international, we're part of the International Federation of the Red Cross. Any Red Cross, you know, you see from Germany to Afghanistan to wherever, they're based on these 7 fundamental principles. That kind of makes us who we are. And our values are being compassionate, collaborative, creative, credible, and committed. And we ask all our volunteers and all of the employees to, you know, support our humanitarian mission. So the Red Cross delivers our mission through these 5 lines of service. A lot of people know us for Bloods and Floods, which is our biomedical services and disaster cycle services, but we do so much more. So we're going to start with our training services. This is our training and educational programs that help to save lives and empower people to respond to disasters after other life-threatening emergencies. Our class offerings include CPR, first aid, water safety, just to name a few. And one of the benefits of being a Red Cross volunteer is that you can take your CPR and first aid course and that's free. You get a code from us, and that's about $110 course. So that's kind of a nice bonus. Our biomedical services, for more than 60 years, we've been committed to ensuring the availability of safe blood and blood products to help those in need and meet America's blood needs. Disaster cycle service, from small to large disasters. We provide a safe place, food, health, mental health services to give out emergency supplies to those who are impacted by disaster. We also provide disaster preparedness education and free smoke alarm installations. And that's what Heather's going to share with you today, a little more in depth. We also have service to the armed forces. We support active duty military members, National Guard and Reserve members, veterans, and their families in various ways, from emergency communication to reintegration help. And we offer international services. So we provide reconnection services for families who've been separated by disaster or migration around the world. And I don't know if you saw it on the news, but we were welcoming some of the Afghanistan refugees that were arriving in Philadelphia. We also work with partners to ensure across the world that folks are properly vaccinated. And we do that through our Measles, Mumps, and Rubella initiative. There are volunteer opportunities within all these lines of service, but due to the health crisis, many of our roles continue to be virtual, have been put on hold as we practice social distancing. However, some roles become more critical. Today, we will highlight later how you can support disaster relief efforts and our vital blood collection services. Just so you know, our work impacts lives every day, and this is our collective American response. 24,000 people receive assistance from us every day. 170 times per day, we're working to help families who are affected by disasters. 1,400 times a day, the Red Cross is providing services to military members. 12,500 times a day, we are collecting blood donations to help people in need. 13,000 people every day receive life-saving Red Cross training in first aid, water safety, or other skills training. And every day, 683,000 children are receiving a measles, mumps, and rubella vaccination with the help from the Red Cross and our international partners. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Heather. And Heather will share with you how you can be ready for storms like Ida that just really ravaged our area. So Heather, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Lynn. And I'm going to go ahead and put my screen up. Give me a moment. Great. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
We can. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. You can see the proper screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Heather Bowman. I'm the Regional Preparedness Manager for SEPA region, like Lynn had said. Thank you. So the odds are a disaster will strike. Right, disasters happen often and sometimes really without warning. They can affect any community. It's a disaster if normal response systems are overwhelmed, if people are hurt, or if property is damaged or destroyed. So really, it's up to you to be ready for any kind of disaster that happens. The reason I say that is because we can't count on receiving help right away, because a lot of times, like the last slide said, a lot of times that our 911 systems, our emergency systems are overwhelmed because of a lot of calls that come through. Right, so the best thing to do is make sure that you are ready and you are prepared yourself. To make sure that you know what to do in case there is some sort of disaster. It's important to be prepared to not only help yourself, but it's important to make sure that you're helping your household. It's really important to make sure that you know what to do and how to help your neighbors, and especially if there's elderly folks that that live around you, to make sure that you're prepared to help them as well, as they may need some more assistance. So how to do this? Well, we're going to break it down to 3 different categories: get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. Right? Get a kit is getting a preparedness kit. Make a plan is what is your plan? If something were to happen, do you and your household know what to do, where to go, how to communicate? And be informed, where you're getting the accurate information about what is going on in your area. So we'll start once again with get a kit. So a household kit, a preparedness kit is important. There's a couple of different kits that you should be aware of. There should be a household kit. Once again, this is to stay in your home. And then there's also a grab and go kit, I call it. The grab and go kit is a preparedness kit for you that you can grab and go and leave your home if you need to be evacuated, and has all the necessary equipment or supplies in it that you may need. So for the household kit, it's important to make sure that you have supplies for 3 days. They say that 2 weeks is better, but let's be honest, if you can at least sustain yourself or your family and your household for 3 days, that's very important. So anything that you need for the next 3 days should be in your kit. And the grab and go, once again, this is a preparedness kit that is easily accessible. You can grab it and go. It may not have as much as your household kit, but it has enough information or enough supplies in there that you can evacuate. Supplies in the kit you should have enough supplies for each member of your household, and your kit should be customized for any personal needs of your household. For example, if you have any pets, you should really make sure that your kit has supplies for your pets inside. If you have medical concerns or needs with somebody in your family, you should make sure that your kit has necessary program or supplies for that. So what are the essentials? The essentials are, things that you need every day. So water, for example, you should have at least 1 gallon per day per person of water. And once again, don't forget any pets, and don't forget any medical issues that might happen. If you have somebody in your household that needs to drink more water for whatever health concerns, then you need to make sure that you adapt your kit for that. Food is important. Make sure it's non-perishable food. In the picture, it shows canned food. There's a pull lid on that, pull top on that can. Make sure that if it doesn't have a pull lid, that you have a can opener as well, so you can get into the food. Once again, if you have pets, make sure that you're, that you have supplies for them as well. First aid kit is very important. Communication. So if you can have a portable radio, flashlight, make sure that if you do have anything that doesn't need electricity, that uses batteries, for example, that you don't store the batteries in the unit. Sometimes that drains the batteries, and then when you go to use it, when you need it, you have no batteries. So make sure that you have extra batteries, but they're not stored in your flashlight or your radio, for example. And the last one is medication. So what I say is sometimes it's not realistic to have your medication in especially your grab and go container or grab and go kit. But what I suggest is having a bottle, like a pill bottle, an empty pill bottle, and inside there's a list of everybody in the family and any kind of medication that they're on. So the name of the medication, the dose that they're on, how often they take it, and you can also put the name of the pharmacy and telephone number of the pharmacy or your doctor as well. That way, if you have to evacuate your home and you grab your grab and go kit, even though you don't have your medicine inside, if you go to a Red Cross shelter, you can, upon registration, you can talk to a Red Cross health service advisor and give them the list of medications that you need, and they will help get that medication to you. So the most important thing is that you evacuate when you're supposed to, but you're also prepared later on that when you need to evacuate, that once again at a shelter you have the necessary supplies to help you. So once again, customize your kits. We talked about health and medical needs. Make sure that you have any kind of additional supplies in there. Pets or service animals, make sure you're thinking of them. You know, spare leash, for example, if you have a service dog, or extra food, some treats, maybe a toy, something to make sure that your pet is taken care of as well. If you have children, or, you know, a lot of times emergency situations like this are stressful. So if you can put in an extra maybe set of playing cards, or a photo, a book, a game, something small if you have kids. But even if you don't have kids, it's still stressful for adults. So something to keep your mind off the fact that you know, there's a stressful situation happening, and it can be very helpful. Make sure that your kit is customized to any specific disaster in your area, right? So you know, we don't typically have not typically, we don't. In Eastern Pennsylvania, we don't have volcanoes, for example. So we wouldn't customize your kit for that. But you will customize your kit for things like flooding, as we have seen in the past, and also things like you know, severe weather, for example, snowstorms, right? You want to, and that leads me to the next part, is make sure that you are updating your kit at least every couple of every few months. So when the seasons change, you should be kind of changing out stuff in your kit. If you can do it twice a year, that'd be great. Maybe in the fall and the spring, update the, you know, take out the old water, put in new water just so it's fresh, you know, rotate the food around, but also customize your kit for wintertime versus summer. Things like that is important. For a list of things that should be in your either grab and go kit or your household kit, you can go to redcross.org/prepare, and there's a list of things that you can put in. This is also fun if you have kids at home. It's fun to do this this activity with them. You know, you can get to, for your home kits, you can get a big Rubbermaid container and go on like a bit of a scavenger hunt with your kids and have them bring the items back. For the grab and go container, maybe an old backpack, and same thing, you can have your kids go and grab things and bring them back. And then you can talk about where your preparedness kit is being stored and when it's needed. So things to consider when we're making a plan. So planning for some sort of disaster. So once again, what disasters are in your area? What season is it? You know, what could very well happen. What about household members who travel? How are we going to get a hold of somebody who perhaps travels, or when they're traveling, what are the disasters that might be in the area that they're traveling to? Do you have any household members who have any access or functional needs? Making a plan, making sure that you're prepared and you know what to do for those folks is important. And once again, what's the plan for your service animal or your pet? Make sure that you have a plan for them as well. It's important also to know how to evacuate. So if you are hearing that there is flood warnings in your area and you need to leave, where are you going to go? Do you have different routes that you know that don't flood, don't typically flood, that you know you can get out? Where are you going to meet? Let's say, you know, kids are starting to go back to school. Some people are starting to go back to offices. You know, where are you going to meet your family if everybody isn't at home, right? We tend to think of, well, if making a plan, well, we're all together. But what happens if you're not all together? Where, once again, what's the plan? Where you're going to meet? How are you going to communicate, right? So I remember, oh gosh, it feels like just a year ago, but it was more, maybe more like 3 years ago, up here in the Wilkes-Barre area. For whatever reason, cell phone service stopped working. There's something happened to a tower. And how are you going to communicate if all of a sudden your cell phone service stops working? Do you have a landline? Do you know how to reach out? Do you know telephone numbers off the top of your head, or do you have them written down that are accessible? These are things to remember. I'll tell you that I still remember my best friend growing up, her telephone number, and I still remember my home telephone number from when I was a kid. But now with cell phones, it's all on my cell phone. I couldn't tell you, people's telephone numbers now. I just don't remember. So knowing my old home phone number isn't going to really help me out all that much, because I don't know who has that telephone number anymore. Also, it's important to know where your important records are, right? Your home insurance or your renter's insurance. If there's something happened, maybe you had a home fire, do you know where that information is? Is it stored somewhere? That you can get it easily. Other important records. Where are they? Do you have copies of things? Because you should have different copies around that you're able to access. Where are you going to stay? If there is some sort of disaster and you need to evacuate your home, do you have a place to stay? Do you have family, friends outside of your community that you can go to? Or are you relying on Red Cross shelter, and do you know how to find those shelters? So these are things that you really need to plan ahead for. And do you know what to do if you shelter in place, right? What happens if, remember down last winter, down in Texas, when they lost power, it was very, very cold. Where are you going to shelter in place? Do you know to try and get your family into one small area of the house and stay there so that, that area can warm up with body heat? Things like that. You need to really plan, and you need to practice your plan. So be informed. Important to know where you're getting your information from. You need to make sure that you're getting information from a reputable source. Some media outlets, social media platforms aren't as reliable as others. Make sure you're going to government websites and government sites to get the correct information. Do you understand the difference between the different weather alerts, a watch versus a warning? Those are very important to know, and have your household know what those are and what they mean as well. It's so important that you're following instructions from authorities. If authorities are telling you it's now time to evacuate your home for whatever reason, it's important to evacuate your home. Make sure that you're paying attention to that. It's important that you know your neighbors. Maybe you're not listening to the radio. Maybe you aren't getting the correct alerts. But if you know your neighbors and you have a good relationship with your neighbors, they can help you, and you can help them as well. Maybe they are not the ones listening to the radio or getting the alerts, but you are, and you know what's going on. Making sure that your neighbors are safe, just like you are safe, is very, very important. Know what to do when you're traveling. If you're traveling somewhere for work or traveling somewhere and something were to happen and you had to evacuate, you had to do something, make sure that you know what the plan is and know where you're going to go. It's very important. For example, I remember in my 20s, I did the whole backpacking through Europe thing. And before I left, I don't know why I thought of this, but I must have read something, a preparedness site, and I photocopied my passport and gave somebody in my family who I trusted, my banking information, just in case something were to happen. The passport, just in case somehow I lost my passport, there was a photocopy and they could contact the consulate for me and help me out. And the banking, in case something were to happen and I, needed some extra money, it was just a lot easier to plan that way than in the heart of the disaster, the moment, and I'm stressed. So, I planned ahead. So some tools you can use. There's emergency contact cards that you can carry with you. Those are once again available on redcross.org/prepare. Also really good to go and get some free apps that are available either in the Apple App Store or Google Play. There's a bunch of Red Cross apps that are once again are free. Weather alerts, helping with where a close shelter is, to first aid CPR assistance. There's a lot of different apps, and once again, they're free. So that just helps you to make sure that you stay prepared and stay alert. I'm going to very, very quickly talk about one of the biggest disasters that the Red Cross responds to. Believe it or not, the biggest disaster that the Red Cross we respond to is home fires. Yes, it's 2021. People are having home fires, but really the sad thing is that sometimes people are still dying in home fires. So I just want to really talk about this and make sure that folks know what to do if there is a home fire, and what you should prepare your family for, or your household for. So really the biggest cause of home fires is cooking. So reduce the fire risk in your home by staying in the kitchen when you're cooking. Never leave anything burning unattended. Make sure that you're installing fire extinguishers and you know how to use the fire extinguisher. It's best not to have your fire extinguisher under the kitchen sink at the very back of it, collecting dust, because it's really hard to get that in case there is a fire. Make sure it's out. Make sure everybody in the household knows how to use it, and just make sure that if you have children, that you really teach them to stay in the kitchen when they're cooking. If you're cooking together, hopefully, and making sure that if you're frying anything, if you've got hot oil on the stove, that you're keeping an eye on it, and you know what to do if there is a fire. You know the different types of fires and what to put on it and what not to put on it. That's very, very important. The next biggest cause of home fires is either electrical malfunction or or improper use of an outlet, for example. So what we say is 3 feet from the heat. If you have something that you've plugged in, like a heater, just make sure that's 3 feet away from anything. Make sure that you don't have any pets that will tip it over. So if it's a heater, for example, make sure that you're always staying in the room with it. If it does tip over, that can cause a fire. So if a pet by accident knocks it over, if you're staying in the room, then you can jump to action and make sure that everybody's safe. Avoid overloading outlets. So outlets only have a certain amount of power that comes out of them, and if you are trying to draw too much power from it, that can cause some issues. So make sure that you're not overloading your outlets, and make sure that electrical cords are used safely. If your cords are raggedy and just expose some wires to it, maybe it's time for a new one. But once again, make sure that you're using everything safely, that you don't have an electrical cord to one of those. Oh gosh, now I'm losing my train of thought. And just don't overload your outlets is really what I'm trying to say. The next issue is smoking. So smoking does, although the percentage of fires due to smoking is low, the percentage of deaths because of smoking fires is quite high. So never smoke when you're in bed or when you're drowsy. Don't smoke near medical oxygen. Always properly extinguish your cigarette butt, and keep matches and lighters away from kids. It's important to smoke perhaps outside is better. However, that's, sometimes people don't do that. So when you're inside and you are smoking, just make sure that your ashtray has large sides on it, that you properly extinguish your cigarette butts, and that you're not smoking in bed or you're not smoking when you're drowsy. So smoke alarms do save lives. It's really important that you have a smoke alarm, a working smoke alarm on every floor and inside and outside of every sleeping area. Your smoke alarm should be tested monthly, and they should be maintained properly, meaning they shouldn't be painted over, for example. Replace your smoke alarm every 10 years. And don't disable your smoke alarms. If your smoke alarm keeps going off when you're cooking, for example, then perhaps your smoke alarm shouldn't be where it is. So perhaps in the kitchen, maybe move it to the next room over. If you are in need of smoke alarms, the Red Cross does offer a program where we actually go and either ourselves or our partners will install the smoke alarms for you. So we don't give out smoke alarms. If you request smoke alarms, we'll come to your home and actually install the smoke alarms in the proper place, make sure that they are assembled properly, and we review fire safety information with you as well. And this is all free. So if you are interested, or if you have any neighbors, family members, friends who need smoke alarms, once again, the Red Cross is the place to go. Just go on to, you can just do a search of the Red Cross SEPA area, and you can request smoke alarms online. Make sure that you have a escape plan. There should be at least 2 exits from every room. If you are on the 2nd floor or higher, make sure that you have a ladder that can be thrown out the window and used to get out safely. Escape routes should be cluttered free. Windows and doors should be able to be opened easily. Once outside, you should have a meeting place where everybody in the household knows where to meet. It should be out front in a safe distance away from your home. The reason I stress this safe meeting place is because if you don't have a meeting place, and let's say you have children run out the back door and you run out the front door, and I'm sure that that's going to be, time that you're panicking trying to locate where your children are, the rest of the members in your household are. So if you all have a meeting place that you know where it is, then everybody can go to that spot, and then you can make sure that everybody in the household is safe, right? Once everybody's in the safe place, or once people are outside of the home, that's when you call 911 and you let them know of what's going on. Practice your home fire escape plan. Please note that if you have children, when they're in school, they have fire drills all the time. I think it's once a month now. When I was a kid, I don't believe it was once a month. I think maybe they only did a couple of times, but I knew what to do, right? If the smoke alarm or the fire drill went off at school, I knew what to do. I knew to stand up orderly. We all left in orderly fashion. We got outside as quickly as possible. We went to a meeting place, right? And the teacher did our account to make sure we're all accounted for. That should really happen at home as well. You should have a meeting place. Everyone should know where to go. And the most important thing is for children, for them to know that they need to get out and stay out of the home. They should not be running back into a home. They need to stay out. So that was a Be Red Cross Ready presentation. That's a free program that the Preparedness Program or the Preparedness Department we offer. We also offer other programs like this, the Ready Rating, and it's really a great program for organizations to make sure that they are accountable, or they're ready for a disaster. A lot of times small businesses aren't ready for when a disaster strikes, and that can really hamper a small business getting back on their feet after a disaster. So once again, readyrating.org is a free program to ensure that in small businesses, schools, libraries, anything is ready for a disaster in case it strikes. There's a couple different programs you can use and go through it, but once again, this is a free program just to make sure that you are ready. Another really important thing to know for a disaster and being prepared is just hands-only CPR, right? In a disaster, it's important to know first aid CPR, but the basic thing is if you know hands-only CPR. This is a free program. It's just chest compressions. Really, time is of the essence. And if there's a disaster happening and somebody needs medical assistance fast, if you know what to do, you can help that person until first responders get there, right? So it's so important. So once again, if you need any kind of first aid CPR, you can go to the Red Cross. But if you want free hands-only CPR training, then that is something that the Preparedness Department, my department, takes over. So I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to present. And I'm going to turn it back to my good friend, Lynn.
Fabulous, Heather. Thank you so much. I think you need to, yes, so. Can you see my screen?
Yes, now we can.
Can you, is it just the regular screen or is it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So thank you so much, Heather. That was very interesting. And I always remember that, you know, with the time change coming up is a time to check those smoke detectors. And I remember in one of your presentations, I had learned that I didn't realize fire extinguishers expired. So I had to look under the kitchen sink, and sure enough, ours had expired. So thank you so much for, you know, teaching me that. And I remember that every time I hear one of your presentations. So thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Thank you, Lynn. And that's a really good, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's a really good point that you brought up, that yes, it's almost time for our clocks to be changed. When that happens, it's so important that if you have a 9-volt battery in your smoke alarm, to check that battery, to change out that battery and do a recheck. So thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate that.
Of course. So, well, thank you, because, you know, it's just, we're a team and we work together and we're all about safety. So my screen here, I just, you know, one of our top priorities is having good health and safety and wellness of our workforce while balancing the needs to deliver our mission. And if you're interested in volunteering with one of our in-person opportunities, we always ask folks to please review the CDC guidelines and follow the guidance. And if you have any questions, you can contact your healthcare provider. If you find after today's session that any of these opportunities are not for you, you can visit redcross.org site to explore other opportunities. And again, once this slide deck is, you know, it's being recorded, and we can also make the slide deck available if anybody is interested. So let me just go back to right here. So as we said, we help after disasters big and small. Heather talked about, you know, home fires are the #1 response. So whether it impacts the entire country, multiple counties, states, or individuals and families, the Red Cross is there. Our first high priority need for volunteers is with disaster. As previously mentioned, the Red Cross responds to 170 disasters a day to help individuals and families navigate through maybe one of the worst times of their lives. So that's, you know, as Heather was alluding to, you know, one of the things that we do at the shelters is help people get medication. So if they have that preparedness kit, can come to the shelter with it, then it's easier for our casework force to help get those medications replaced. You know, a majority of the time, our disaster volunteers are the ones that respond and provide the care during the darkest moments. So whether it's a single home fire or an entire town has been decimated, you know, disaster survivors can turn to the Red Cross. We meet immediate and basic needs like food and shelter. We provide cleanup supplies and comfort items. We meet with individuals to provide health and mental health care and help people put their lives back together. So, and I just wanted to say a disclaimer that some of these pictures were taken prior to the pandemic, so you may not see some masks on a few people. So you know, 2021 hurricane and wildfire season, we're right in the middle of it. And I don't know if you've been watching the news, but it seems like all these disasters are becoming more and more frequent. And my fear is, and I think the professionals' fear are that they're just going to continue happening and increasing in frequency. So in addition to the everyday home fires, we're well into our hurricane and wildfire season, where we face these large-scale disasters that affect entire communities, and our relief efforts are great. For 2021, we continue to face the unique challenge of the hurricane and wildfire season. Predictions indicate another above average season, and this year's wildfire season is already very active and dangerous because of the severe drought in the dry woodlands in the Northeast area. After several years of record-breaking wildfires, the Red Cross is already responding in dozens of communities. They've already sent several, or had several named storms this year, and I think what was it, Nicholas just struck the Gulf of Texas. So we're learning more as, you know, the information comes in about the damage that was there. And we always anticipate, you know, staffing challenges. So, you know, we have to deploy people, you know, from different regions to come in and respond to these disasters. And having our trained and available volunteer workforce ready to respond is vital to our service and our mission. So top priority for disaster cycle service volunteer opportunities is a shelter associate and disaster health service associate. So I was just volunteered last week in our Norristown shelter, which was in a Norristown high school. So this, as a sheltering associate, you know, we helped feed everybody. We served lunch, and, you know, you just make sure tables and things are wiped down. You have conversations, you talk to folks about what they're doing, making sure that they're aware of the available resources. So as a shelter associate, that's kind of what you do. And then there's also a shelter supervisor position. So that's the person who's in charge of the shelter. They orient the team when they come in, or at shift change. Other volunteers may orient the incoming volunteers, but it's just a real interesting experience. So I just wanted to touch upon briefly, if you're interested in any of our disaster responses to the highest need that we have right now. So the shelter service associate and supervisors, always we need them to support our shelter operations before, during, and after the wildfires or hurricanes or tornadoes, whatever we're responding to. So the associates, you know, welcome the clients, register them, feed them, and make sure they feel safe and secure on their worst day. So the cool thing at the shelter I was at, they have this big sheet, I forget what they're called. They're those giant sheets of paper, but they have resources listed on there. So anywhere from, you know, food pantries and shelters to bus routes, to legal aid, to mental health services. So we definitely, as a shelter service associate, you would be, you know, redirecting folks to those resources if they had questions. And my next slide, I'm going to play a video of one of our disaster volunteers from the greater Pennsylvania region. And he is awesome. And I just want you to hear his words. And it's just a couple-minute video. So, okay, that does not make sense. Let's see. All right, I'm not sure why it's not playing.
You hit the play button in the middle of the screen there on
Yes.
the video?
I keep hitting it and it's not this one.
Oh, really? Yeah, that one right there.
Okay.
Yeah, you had it up there a moment ago.
I know, and it worked and everything. I'm going to try it one more time.
Hi, my name is Thomas Gormley. I'm a Red Cross Disaster Cycle Services volunteer in the Central Pennsylvania chapter of the Greater Pennsylvania region. Maybe you've heard of young people who say they want to take a gap year, either between high school and college or immediately after completing their college studies. For many of them, their gap year is a time to travel to faraway places or to volunteer before entering the real world. Well, in October of 2020, after having a fabulous career which gave me many opportunities, I decided to take my own gap year, or what I hope will be actually several gap years, with the American Red Cross. And I have to say I haven't regretted it for a moment. In addition to serving busily locally on the disaster action team and as a duty officer and a recovery caseworker, I love the fact that I've had the opportunity to serve by deploying to disasters all around the country. The area where I've chosen to work is sheltering, but if your interests lie elsewhere, you can also train to work in logistics or feeding or transportation or information and planning. Regardless of where your talents lie, you will find the Red Cross is ready to train you for how you need to do your volunteer job well. My first deployment experience was to New Orleans, Louisiana, where I was a shelter worker for clients who were displaced by Hurricane Laura. It was a fabulous experience. I admit I was nervous about my first deployment, but I have to say any anxiety I had was totally misplaced because the training I received from the Red Cross was first rate. It really prepared me well for everything that was expected of me. And one of the nice things about deploying with the Red Cross is that you're never alone. There will always be someone with you, wherever you go and whatever you do. And so if you have any apprehensions, which is understandable, know that you will always be matched up with others who have done the job before. And it won't be long before you're quite comfortable doing the job which has been assigned to you. The first time a Red Cross client looks you intently in the eye to say thank you, I can all but guarantee that your perspective on life will change for the better. Over the last year, I moved up from being a shelter associate to becoming a shelter supervisor, which means I get to be the first among equals on a team that sets up or runs a dormitory for our Red Cross clients. Receiving a promotion was really just a matter of working hard, gaining some experience, and completing a bit more training. So far, I've helped people recover from wildfires, extreme heat, large multifamily apartment fires, and I even got to work with a special operation at the U.S. border. Along the way, I have made some tremendous friends from all over the country, and I've learned a lot, and I've had some pretty wonderful and moving experiences. Whether you're looking to volunteer full-time like I'm doing in my gap year, or if you have a small window of time each year that you can devote to deploying, I'm pretty sure you will find that your disaster response work with the Red Cross will be one or many of the most rewarding experiences of your life. Thanks for listening. Who knows? Maybe I'll get to meet you on a future deployment.
So yes, that's our wonderful volunteer from the Greater Pennsylvania region, and I think his testimony is just so wonderfully shared, and he's so well talked about, what it's like for him. And I understand, as he said, he's been deploying to several fires and to disasters, and his wife actually made him take a break, and so he made his next available time slot to be able to volunteer mid-October. So he's home resting now, but we appreciate his service so much. So just as, again, we talked about shelter supervisor, shelter associate, we also have health service associates. So if you are not a nurse, if you know any nurses or doctors or EMTs, anyone with hands-on who can provide hands-on care in alignment with their professional licensure. You'll see the qualifications. I'm not going to go into them, but it really is an awesome experience. And like I said, these are folks who are helping people get their life put back together post a disaster. And we need not only shelter associates, but professionals as well to provide those services. So you can join us. I've put up a link here. If the slide deck is shared, which Mark could do, you can click on this link and complete an application. If you're already a volunteer, you can log into your existing application. Maybe you want to update it or look at different opportunities. There are 4 steps to becoming a volunteer that you could take today. You can find a volunteer opportunity. You can go to our website, click on volunteer today. You can create a Red Cross ID. You can read and agree to our Red Cross policies and procedures and upload your photo ID and authorize a background check. So all of our opportunities, pretty much most of them require a background check. And once you do all those things, a Red Cross representative would reach out to schedule a time to talk. I also want to just say that, with regard to Heather's preparedness programs, and Heather could probably speak to it better, but there are educational opportunities for folks to present to grade schools and youth. So Heather, instead of me talking about it, I'm going to let you talk about that real quick, just so we can take any questions as well. And so Heather, do you want to just chat about Be Prepared with Preparing with Pedro and the Pillowcase Project?
Sure, thank you, Lynn. Yes, so there are a number of different preparedness programs. So if you like to present, we have a number of different youth programs. So the Pillowcase Project is one. Talks about a preparedness kit and talks about some fire safety as well, and that's for youth in grades 3 to 5th grade. We also have a very cute story, Prepare with Pedro, and it's a little penguin. And Pedro talks about and learns about fire safety. And that is for kindergarten to 2nd graders. It's a really great story, and the 2 are great programs. So if you like to work with youth and you like to present, then by all means, please get a hold of me. I'd love to have you on a team. We also have other programs like Hands Only CPR. That's a non-certification program. It's just a free program, just to make sure that folks know what to do just by using your hands and how you can help save somebody. We also have the Ready Rating program for organizations, and then the Be Red Cross Ready presentations that I did for you today. We also have our smoke alarm installation program, which we have such a great group of volunteers that are part of this program. So if you want to be part of a team and actually go in and help either educate about fire safety or help install smoke alarms, really be part of a team of really great volunteers, that would be a good team for you to join. Really wonderful people on the preparedness teams. Really lots of wonderful people on any of the Red Cross teams. Specifically, I know the preparedness teams, and love the volunteers. So if you would like to be part of any of the teams, by all means, please sign up. You can also contact me. My email address is heather.bowman, BOWMAN @redcross.org, and I'd love to have you and talk to you about any of the preparedness programs. So thank you, Lynn.
Fabulous. Thank you, Heather. Do we have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? You can either type them in the chat or come off mute and ask. Okay, well,
Great presentation, guys. American Red Cross would be such a rewarding place to volunteer for. And that fellow who did that video testimony spoke very eloquently about that. And
yes, he did. Thomas is amazing, and
yeah,
we were lucky that he gave us permission to share his this testimonial because it's pretty amazing. Well, if there are no questions, I mean, I want to thank you, Mark, for hosting us today. Heather and I really appreciate it. We're happy to do these preparedness presentations and share volunteer opportunities. You can reach me also at lynn.cohen, C-O-H-E-N, so it's LYNN.COHEN at redcross.org. And if you want to chat at all, my phone number is 610-216-9785. So thank you again, Mark, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Great, glad to have you guys here. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Take care now, bye-bye.